What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I've done a lot of thinking trying to create these AI models to predict the 2026 midterm elections. And I started thinking, okay, what else can AI do when it comes to predicting these elections? Can we do polling averages? Can we do other things? And so I spent some time yesterday working with AI, training AI to create polling averages. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I have a model and I'm going to show you this model. And we're going to use this model in the future when it comes to polling averages. And so when it comes to polling averages, you'll have different websites like Real Clear Politics. Real Clear Politics is probably the most popular one that's out there. And you have Decision Desk, you used to have 538. And so what they did is they brought in all these different pollsters and they showed you an average. So they showed you an overall average. So Real Clear Politics will show you this overall average, and then it will show you the different pollsters and how they rated these different polls. And so what I've done is I've asked AI, can you create a polling averages PDF that I can talk about every week? And AI said yes. It wasn't that easy. It took me a few hours to train it because when it comes to AI, if you guys don't know, you can't just ask it a question and it gives you all the information. Generally, you ask it a question and then you have to fine tune it. You have to tweak it and you have to make changes. And sometimes AI will say one thing and it's not even true. So you have to do your research anyway. So when it puts out the information, I have to go through it and make sure all that information is correct. And so we're going to talk about this today. I think this is going to be really good. And in the future, when I'm going over these different models, let's say the model that I'm using right now to predict how many seats the Democrats or Republicans will gain in the 2026 midterms. One of the inputs in that model is the polling average. And I'm using Real Clear Politics now. And in the future, maybe I'll have a different model and I'll use the polling average from AI. So let me talk a little bit about this. I want to show you. Before we get started, though, if you guys can do me a favor, if you watch this video all the way through and you think this information is informative, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's go ahead. I want to take a look at this, and we're going to go over this. I want to give you as much information as possible, but I don't want it to be boring. So I'm going to try to breeze through this so you guys understand what this model is doing. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to have pollsters that are reputable, okay? You have a lot of different pollsters that are out there. Some are good, some aren't good. When it comes to Real Clear Politics, they just take pretty much all the different pollsters and then they give you the average. And there's a problem with that because if you have a good pollster and a bad pollster and they're weighted the same, then it's not effective. It's not accurate. And so what I wanted to know, what I asked AI, can you give me 15 of the top pollsters on accuracy as well as just being reputable in the last 10 years? And so AI said, okay, let's pull up the list. And this is the list that they showed us. And this is coming, a lot of this information is coming from 538. This was back in 2023. Back in 2023, that was the last time that we saw these different letter grades. And so when I show you this graph, you're going to see letter grades, and that's what it means. It means that they're accurate. It means that they're transparent. And so there's a lot of different characteristics that they use in order to grade them. Okay, so let's go ahead. I want to show you this. And we're looking at, so if we're looking at this left side of the screen here, we see these letter grades. Okay, so you have YouGov Economist. You see that at A, so that's an A ranking. You have an A- ranking, Quinnipiac. We're just briefly going through these. You have CBS News at A-. You have Harvard Harris at B+. Then you have Rasmussen at B. And so you see, you have all these letter grades. And so I just didn't want to take all the different polls, look at the numbers, and then just average it and tell you, okay, well, this is the average. Real Clear Politics does that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show different areas. So the formula here, if you look at the description, and so this is what it says. It says newer polls count more, older polls shrink over time. And so what it's doing is if you have a recent poll, that's going to carry more weight than a poll that was done, let's say, 20 days ago. And I think it's good because it will give those later polls that have more information because you have the economy and all this stuff, the latest information. I think that should be weighted higher than a poll that was done 20 days ago because 20 days ago we were in a different time, especially right now. When you watch the news, I mean, every day there's a series of different stories that are going on. And so the recent polls should carry more weight. And so that's what they're doing here. Okay, and it shows right here, so you get 1 point. The formula we'll go over in a second, but you get 1 point for things that were done today, and then 30 days, it would be 0.35. So when you add up everything at the end, that's what they're showing there. You get more weight for recent polls. Okay, bigger sample size count a bit more. Okay, so when we're looking at sample size, if it's 800, that's 0.9. If it's 2,000 or more, that's 1.4. So if you have a sample size, when you're doing these polls, that sample size is 2,000 or more, you're going to get more points for that. Okay, and you have better pollsters get bonus. So as we were looking at the letter grades here, so A, that gets 1.20, and we're looking at B, that equals 1, C plus, that equals 0.85. And so you see that the different pollsters, if they're ranked higher, their points are going to be higher than a pollster that isn't ranked as high. Okay, likely voters get a boost. This is important too, and this is sometimes overlooked. So when we're looking at likely voters get 1.10. Registered voters get 1. And then adults get 0.85. So when you're looking at these different polls and you say, okay, likely voters should be weighed heavier than a registered voter, because a registered voter might not vote. They might be registered, but they're not voting. And that happens a lot. And I know, like motor voter, we had that back in the day. I don't even know if they still have that. But you go and you get your DMV information, and they ask you if you want to register to vote. And you say, oh, yeah, sure, I'll register to vote. And some of those people never go and vote. And so they could be registered, and they're in this poll, but they're not actually going to vote. And so if you're a likely voter, those are the people that we really should be focused on, because those are the people that are most likely going to be out there voting. Okay, and then adults. So when it comes to adult, that's anyone, right? Anyone who's an adult, they might not even be a registered voter. They were asked in a poll and they said, oh, yeah, I think this person should win, or I think we should do this or do that. But they're just adults. They might not even be registered to vote. They could be a likely voter. They could be a registered voter, but we don't have that information, so they just say adult. Okay, and let's see. Let's move forward. And it says this final weight. So they're talking about the final weight. So typically, this is what we're going to see, the range between 1 and 2. And then after that, then we're going to get the margin. Okay, so we're going to get the margin D plus 3, Republican plus 3, R plus 3 or D plus 3. So that's what will come out. And then what the formula is going to do is it's going to give us a percentage so we can see it's in this case. And this is just a sample, okay? This is not what our actual numbers are. But let's say Democrats 46.5, Republicans 43.5. And so that is the formula that we're going to use. And I think this is going to be really effective. Now, the only problem that I have right now, and it's just going to take time for this to develop, but I have 15 different pollsters, and these pollsters were picked because over the last 10 years, they've been the most accurate and they're most transparent and all that, okay? Now, some of them lean left, some of them lean right. I understand that, but nonetheless, they've been accurate, and that's what's important. Okay, but the problem that I'm having is not all of these pollsters are putting out information when it comes to the generic ballot, and that's a problem. So let me just show you here what I'm talking about. So we have, out of all the polls, and I wanted stuff that was recent, so I asked for October. But when you're looking at this, you only see how many? 4. Okay, this is it. This is all the polls, all the information that we have. Now, we can use this, and we will use this, and in the future, I will add, as soon as we get more information from some of these different pollsters, I will add that information in. Sure, some of these different pollsters, they asked about the generic ballot in a poll in the past, but it might have been back in July, or it might have been back in May, but nothing recent for these pollsters here down below. And so let's go ahead and take a look at the pollsters that have put out information when it comes to the generic ballot. And then once we start seeing more down below here, then we'll update the information. But this is what we have so far. So when we're looking at, and we'll just go kind of through the list just like we normally do when it comes to YouGov Economists. This is an A-rated poll, and this poll was conducted between October 24th and 27th. This says registered voters and adults, okay, and we have a sample size of 1,623. Democrats at 44, Republicans at 42, so that's margin of Democrats plus 2. This is that weighted, that information I was telling you about, so between 1 and 2. This is how they weighted that poll. Okay, next pollster here, this is Reuters Ipsos. It's a grade A. It was conducted between October 22nd and 28th, and the sample type was adults, And remember, I said likely voters, registered voters, adults. That's the ranking there. This is adults. And the sample size was 1,018. Democrats at 45, Republicans at 42, Democrats +3. And here is the weighted score. And let's move on. We have Quinnipiac. This is an A-. It was conducted on October 22nd. You have registered voters here, 1,400 of them, and Democrats at 50, Republicans at 41. So that's D +9, and this is the ranking here. Now, what's interesting is you look at the ranking here. So the one that we just did, so Quinnipiac, you look at that ranking, and then the Economist YouGov, because that poll was more recent, it carries more weight, just a little bit more weight. So if you guys see what I'm saying here, so right here it's 1.66, and the Quinnipiac was 1.60. Even though, and you have to look at sample size, so there's a difference in sample size, registered voters here, registered voters and adults, so you have to add that in, so that's going to reduce the amount. But when you look here, Democrats +9, so the margin here is much larger, but when you weigh the scale, it's not as much, as you see what I'm saying. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward here. Morning Consult, this is a A-rated pollster. It was conducted, it just says October, and I think what they're doing is weekly updates here, so that's why it says that. Registered voters, we have 3,000 of them, so the sample size is pretty big. We have 46 for Dems, 43 for Republicans, D +3, and that's 1.58. And then, yes, it says weekly tracking there. So these are the pollsters that we're using right now. Now, as we see some of these other pollsters add their information in, then I can come back and I can give you, so every week we're going to do this, so I can come back and give you some updated numbers. But let's go back to the chart here and let's look at the numbers. So when we're looking at the numbers here, with the weighted average, the formula's calculated everything for us. It gives us Democrats +4.3. Okay, so that is the number that we're looking at when it comes to the generic ballot. Now, we've talked about the generic ballot over and over again. And so when it comes to, and then they also give us a percentage here. So Democrats 47.2, Republicans 42.9. Now, I want to show you the polling averages when it comes to the Decision Desk, HQ, and Real Clear Politics. Now, Real Clear Politics just changed, and I'll give you that update right now. But October 30th, 2025, they have Dems at 44.4, Republicans at 41.8, and they're looking at Democrats +2.6. So that is their polling average. We're looking at Real Clear Politics, and this is between September 22nd and October 27th, and we have Democrats at 45.6, Republicans at 43.2, so Democrats +2.4. Now this changed to 2.7. So it's now 2.7. That's what we're looking at here. And I just looked at the information right before I did this video, so that's why I know that. And so when you compare what AI has put together, you have a change here. You have +4.3, which is higher for the Democrats than what we're seeing in Real Clear Politics, as well as Decision Desk HQ. And so I just wanted to give you guys this information. This is going to be a new update that we will be showing on the channel on a weekly basis. And I think it's good. We can look at the polling averages and look at just 15 pollsters. We don't have to look at all the different pollsters, because when you start having all these different pollsters in the polling average, it really messes things up. So I think if you have 15 solid pollsters, you're probably going to have a better overall result, because these pollsters have been around for a long time and they're known to be accurate. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.